This is Disclosure Now, a show where we expose the truths that are nefariously hidden from humanity. Today we speak with Amir Jahangiri, the Wizard of Wivenhoe, and answer the question, what does it mean to be a wizard and how does one truly walk the path? Perhaps the answer is less complicated than one might think.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Disclosure Now with my good friend Amir, the Wizard of Wivenhoe. It's so good to see you, Amir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. I'm ecstatic, delighted to be here with you and our wonderful audience. I hope that we have a fun discussion, and I hope that there's something beneficial for everyone here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Like I said, this was inspired by a video I saw, which I have linked in the description. I was going to play it. I don't know if that's necessary. I think we can have maybe a more in-depth conversation without playing it. But I would like people to check it out and want to give credit to where it's due to this fellow who inspired me to have this conversation with you in the first place. But basically, his video, to sum it up, what I got out of it was it's just being a wizard is just living in a more whimsical way, in a more grounded way. Maybe you're more closer to nature. Maybe you like to feel things a little bit more. Maybe you have ritual in your life to align with the things you're trying to accomplish. But really, it's just a way of living. And it might sound silly to some people, like cosplaying as a wizard or something like that. And I understand that, but A, what's wrong with being silly? Anyway, and B, it doesn't, I personally think that it doesn't have to be a silly thing. And it only becomes silly if you take yourself too seriously, I think. And yeah, and I just think that when it comes down to it, the world, the universe is magic, right? It is magic. Everything that occurs around you, the properties that make things turn, make things go, the things that make the universe work, right? These things are still very ephemeral to us, still very beyond our comprehension. Last time I checked, scientists can't exactly even explain how something as simple as gravity works. So the universe is, and it's not that things don't have an explanation. That's the thing. I kind of want to demystify the word magic. I don't know how else to say it, but we're all practicing magic every day of our life. It's just, are you practicing negative magic towards yourself, negative self-thought, self-doubt, self-betrayal, or are you practicing positive thought, thinking positively of yourself, taking actions that align with what you want to accomplish in your life, being grounded enough to know what you do want to accomplish in your life, all of these things. Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on that, Amir, and maybe you could start with helping the audience and the people who are on this journey with us by maybe telling us the process of what made you realize you are the Wizard of Wivenhoe and how you've gotten to this point.
Well, thank you so much for the wonderful question. So looking at the definition of magic, it can be, in the most simple and yet accurate terms, be described as causing change in accordance to one's will. So creating this podcast is an act of magic. You have a certain intention, and then you lay the foundations, make a plan, and generate an effect. In this case, it is enlightenment, correct information, and through that helping raise the vibration for everybody who hears this. So this is very much so an act of magic. It's all about intention, really. we need to understand ourself, come to a state of being aligned with self and with source, and then creating clear intentions. This may have a physical aspect, or it may be non-physical, existing in different dimensions of reality. The process involves creating a design. We could call it a mind form, an energetic or conscious design. Once this is consolidated, then it needs a little bit of energy to be planted. So if it's created in, let's say, dimension 6, then it will find the path of least resistance, like lightning striking between 2 points. It is the law. It has no other choice but to trickle down into reality. Now, anything along the way that takes away from the alignment, the harmony of emotion, thought, and consciousness will reduce the potency of this and add additional distortions along the way. So my journey in realizing that this was something that I could do by birthright, because I am a member of the family of the mighty humans, this means that we all can do this. And so I was an idiot. If I can do it, all of you guys hearing me can do it.
Mhm.
But it is not straightforward. We require to reach that state of alignment. So if there's any trauma that is unhealed, if there are any distortions in our belief, you talked about negative self-thought, that's one of them. These distortions and injuries have a negative impact on the potency and strength of what we manifest.
This arrives me to a really great point that I think you would very much so agree on. The first step of being a wizard is taking care of yourself.
The first part of being the mighty human is taking care of self.
Yes.
And this is really important.
And what is the distinction between a mighty human and a wizard? There isn't much of one. It's the same thing.
The mighty human has many abilities. Let's look at who we are and what we are. We are a shard of the heart and consciousness of the beloved source of all things, incarnate in these bodies. So all the properties of the divine we have. Creation and manifestation are one of these. And so really the whole thing, the journey of healing, evolution, activating dormant spiritual technologies that we have by right and by merit, it all follows the same pattern. It starts with an awakening. Oh my God, there's more. It's not just all 3D matter. There is more. That's the first step. And then you go down the rabbit hole and you start gaining awareness in the conscious mind of all the shenanigans that have been going on. That usually is the first dark night of the soul. Oh, wow, this has been going on all along. And that's usually traumatic. It's not pleasant.
Yeah.
And so we move from that first level.
And many are resistant to the first step because of how traumatic it can be. There's a power in it once you get over that first traumatic part, and it actually can feel kind of good once you step into the realization. But when you first step into that realization of the world being so big, vast, and basically knowledge being just quite more vast than what we've been told, what's out there to tap into, it can be really overwhelming. And also seeing the fact that it very much so is like Harry Potter, where it not literally, I mean, obviously it's a movie, it's a bit more entertaining and stuff. It's meant kids movies, but there is this aspect of there's a whole other world, a whole other like separate society on this planet of people who understand these things. And one of the unfortunate things that I want people to understand watching this show is many of the people, we need to make a shift in the direction where there are more people who understand this that are good-hearted individuals who have their metaphysical horse in the race for humanity, for the goodness of mankind and the earth and the universe at large, even um, where they're using their will as a positive force in this timeline, in this universe, where we are right now, this point that we're at, to create, a more positive timeline, a more positive world, a more positive reality. Because unfortunately, what we're up against is dark ones. There are dark ones who have an ancient tradition and lineage where they pass on their knowledge to one another through their family lineages and things like this. They're very organized, like almost like an organized crime syndicate. You could look at it like that, except they live in the shadows and no, it's very, the knowledge on them is sort of limited and told in whispers or conspiracy theories circles online. But so what I want people to understand is these ritual aspects, these things they do, you can do. It's the same magic, the same universe can respond to you doing positive things, positive ritual, positive enforcement, helping people, creating more smiles, happiness, and positive vibration. And it might sound silly or simple or like I'm under or overstating it, but it really is as simple as that. Is good people need to inflict their will on their universe, on the universe, and they need to believe that they can inflict their will on the universe in order to do it. And that's what I wanted to have this conversation about, is just the fact that it is time for the mighty human to realize their power, to realize what's so special about them, why all the ET and everything like that are so fascinated with us to begin with, and why they're always messing with us, is the mighty human's power to create, to change, to invent. And it's time we take that power for ourselves. And it's very simple. It's just living with a different mentality. And you can call yourself a wizard, or you can call yourself a person who lives with intention and inflicts their will. It doesn't matter. It's all just verbiage. But
Yes.
I just wanted to really reiterate the point that,
Yes.
as in the title, everyone is magic.
Oh, yes. So you touched upon something really important here. Let's look at this definition of light and dark, good and evil. And so, in my humble understanding, things are not completely 0 and 1. That is dangerous and short-sighted. No being in existence is perfectly good or perfectly evil. And so there are degrees to these things. I would like to look at this in terms of balanced and imbalanced. So being out of balance will lead to things like selfishness and lack of empathy. If I wanted to give evil a very fundamental and simple definition, it would be lack of empathy, meaning that you're willing to cause pain, suffering, harm, and damage to other beings without any feelings, without any guilt. That's being out of balance. It could be understood to arise from a state of traumatization. You can understand where it comes from. Doesn't make it acceptable. So the perfect point where we can maximize our potential and tap into rivers of cosmic energy, each a different manifestation of divine will, would be in this point of balance. So say we have a domain of pure light, we have a domain of void, and then everything in the middle. The best place to be is in the center point where neither pole pulls on you anymore. And it is in this state where we become superconductors to the light of the infinite soul and the will of the beloved divine. That is the peak of health. It is the peak of evolution. And it is in that state where we are most powerful towards manifestation. Some other condition, not everything that is of the light or in the light is good. Not everything that is in the darkness or of the void is evil. We have fallen angels. We also have beings of the void who sing the praise of the beloved source of all things and ascend beyond their original station. It seems to all be about this state of balance and continuous evolution of consciousness. And so this goes around in cycles. Another little condition or caveat: just because something is born and exists in, let's say, dimension 12, doesn't make it any better or worse than us here in physicality. And so we need to remove generalization. It is just as futile and foolish as racism. It's a one-to-one evaluation. You have to look at each being individually and evaluate them based on what they do, what they emanate, what is the fruit of their action. So just because something is from a certain caste of beings or a race or a species means nothing. It's always good to keep your healthy skepticism online. Absolutely. Keep your street smarts on, right? Use the physical brain. But don't prejudge, don't be quick to judgment, and try to keep out emotion with the judgment from the picture. So these are some things that I think are worthwhile mentioning towards this topic.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that. Honestly, that soaked into me. Like that was something that I very much so needed to hear. And it's funny, I have a friend who's in the chat right now, a dear old friend, who he's a Buddhist, and he always talks about the middle way and the middle path. And this is very much so in alignment with that. And it's very interesting. I've been thinking about, I don't know if this is random or not, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately, about how Christ was a reincarnated Lama, and the wise men were, the guys who go and find the new Lama, the new reincarnated Lama, and just how, if people were to understand how similar the core of what all these religions are saying is, Christianity, Buddhism, what have you, they're actually all coming from the same place. And I think that they're saying something sort of similar to what we're saying now. A lot of these religions is man has a power, man is in the image of God, and man can create. I don't think that the message was ever supposed to be that we can't create and that we're lowly or anything like that. I think that's a perversion that happened over time. And I just think it's really important for us to understand that we have a power. We are not lowly. We are mighty beings. We are creator beings. We are godly in many ways. And we kind of have to accept that, because it's a responsibility, Amir. If we don't accept, we are using that power, whether we know it or not, whether we accept it or not. And if we don't step into that power and use it intentionally with good in our heart, it can cause harm. So that's why I think it's really important for people to just understand that these topics aren't taboo. Metaphysical stuff is becoming more and more understandable and explained by mainstream science, like every day. So it's like, just trying to kind of ground this information and get it back into reality for people, so that people can use it in their lives in a practical way.
I think that is spot on. So my background is engineering, programming, electronics. I'm a stickler for efficiency and effectiveness. If something works, then I keep it. If it doesn't, I purge. And so this idea, which is shared in more pronounced in the Buddhist tradition and the Hindu tradition, but then also trickles of it still remaining in mainstream ideologies. And this is as follows: that everything in terms of our abilities and our gifts, our connection to source, our multidimensional and infinite nature, are here right now. meaning that we don't need to gain anything, we don't need to learn anything, we don't need to do anything. There is a requirement to access them, and that is purging layers of distortion, illusion, and ego. And so the mighty human in their purest form, free from trauma, from negative beliefs, from injury, from implants, from harvesting, is all that. It is the peak of creation in the entire cosmos, not just in this universe. And so that is the goal. Going home. That highest divine blueprint is here now. And that is a very joyous moment when you realize this. We're not, we are not born into a clean world. There's damage that we inherit genetically from our mothers and fathers. There may be karmic conditions, bloodline curses. That's just the genetic makeup. The first cell, the sperm and the egg mixing, and we've already got that debt to deal with. And then there's the trauma of being a fetus, developing correctly. There's lots of interference with the human vessel, both in physical and energetic structure. By the time we are born, 90% of the implants are already in. Then there's the trauma of birth. And here we go. Trauma of childhood, school, education, religion, culture. All these compound upon each other. By the time we hit puberty, we're under a mountain of overlays, of distortion. Now, that is the purpose for the soul. Well, if we can come down into a human body and still, despite not remembering who we are and not remembering our gifts, if we can still break through and reconnect home to source, that's a badge of honor. That's how the soul evolves. Many of us have very, very powerful and refined souls, not down here for basic karmic lessons and so on. So that state of understanding the perfection of who we are right now and using that without interference, that is magic. And so any other path that will tell you, first and foremost, anything that is short-term will not stick. This breaking free and digging yourself out of this mountain of distortion is not fast, it is not easy, and it is not enjoyable. Healing is not easy, so it requires effort. There is no off or on switch. This is the result of accumulated effort and will just to reach baseline.
Yes, and I would like to kind of touch upon that point and add to it with this channel is very much so against mind control, and unfortunately, really what it is, there are two things. There are two kind of states of being to be in, and I mean you could maybe call it negative or positive or something, I don't know, but you're either inflicting your will upon the universe, and making things happen. Maybe the universe happens to you sometimes, of course, as it is, but you're inflicting your will and living a life that you create for yourself. But the average person, and that's maybe what being a wizard is, or a mighty human. But a lot of people, they're only letting the world affect them. They're being affected by the world. They're taking in information. They're in input mode. It's good to have some input. Everybody should have some input. But you need output as well. In fact, I would argue that it's more important to have more output than input in your life. And I think that's a problem with this technology, these social media apps that people have gotten so enamored with, is they get rid of how much output humans used to put out. Not everybody. Some people can use it to put out more output and be even more powerful. But I just think that there's like our natural state of being is that of the mighty human, of powerful creator beings. And I think that it's taken some stuff in our history, and like I said, with the time travel, mind control stuff that I participated in that has to do with it, to get us to this point where we're disconnected from source, from our higher self. And really, to simplify that concept of what is source, what is your higher self, to simplify that, that is who you truly are. That's it's not something you're not, that you're trying to be. It's who you truly are and who you forgot that you are. It's the source of you. It's remembering what you love, what brings you joy, what you are as a person, and stepping into that. That is being connected to source. And there are very many people who have been disconnected from the ability to operate that way. And we are here to remind people, we are literally here on this earth, Amir, to remind people that the only thing in between a person being in this state of constantly receiving very little output, all this stuff, and the universe happening to them, which oftentimes turns into a woe is me scenario, because depending on what happens to you can make you feel powerless. We want people to realize that they have that power, that it's always been there. It's not, you don't have to go find it anywhere. It hasn't ran off. It's right in you, dormant. And yeah, that's what we need to remind people, Amir. And that's honestly the reason why I had you on the show, is because you are a badass motherfucker, Amir. And you remind others, including myself, that I have that power, that we all have that power. You are here to ground people and in this knowledge that people have a power to take control of their lives, and they can balance their energy. And one thing I want to bring up while you're here is Amir does energy work. He's an energy healer. He has all sorts of services that he does offer. I have used them myself with great success. If his website is in the description, it's in the little bar on the. It's all over the place here. Wizard of Wivenhoe.co.uk. You can't miss it. And yeah, I can't recommend his services enough. He's extremely helpful individual, and if you can't tell just by watching the show, it's because he has a very clean energy, and it takes somebody with that kind of energy to be an energy healer. So yeah, I really appreciate you, Amir, and I appreciate you being on the show. And
I'm here in a role of service. There is no me. There is only the beloved source. And so I remove myself from the equation. I have the honor of being the conduit. And so it is an honor to be of service in such a way. I would like to summarize my understanding of the process, meaning that no matter where you are and what challenges you face, this process applies to the mighty human. So we are in bodies, physical bodies. These wonderful, noble vessels are the result of billions of years of evolution and engineering. And so the first step of the process is healing the inner animal, reclaiming our membership in the animal kingdom as part of nature. We are meant to survive nature, and yet many people cannot do this any longer, and they're useless because they don't know who and what they are. Many talk about different aspects. This is the foundation. So the energy of the root and the tanden, which is air, water, food, shelter, and reproduction in the root, we share with animals. And then the accumulation of life force towards healing or combat, that is the tanden. We have this in common. And so before healing this, we cannot claim humanity. Once we heal the inner animal, we go to the healing of the inner child, the sacral, which is overcoming shortcomings and base nature. Unlike a child who goes and has tantrums, we are aware of our emotions and instincts, but we are not ruled by them. This is shown in the Atlantean monument in Egypt, the Sphinx, human head and animal body. I overcome shortcomings and base nature. And then we reach the peak of being human without spirit, without connection to our infinite soul, the human animal. And this is taking responsibility, purging this victim mentality, blaming our country of birth, our parents, the government, and God, and everyone and everything but ourselves. And the fact is, at one point or another, we have had a hand in bringing about the conditions that we see outwardly. But we also acknowledge that we have the absolute ability to correct things if they are not agreeable. Taking responsibility is the peak of humanity. And then evolving beyond the state of, let's say, the noble vessel comes the energy of the heart, which is all about consciousness. Love is a byproduct of this. So every cell in your body, every blade of grass, every galaxy, the entire cosmos is conscious. And so by healing the heart, we open up the floodgates to all the good stuff. Then healing the throat, that's your BS meter, discernment. And then accessing the jade gate, healing that, which is basically evolving beyond any kind of sentient being that is individual, becoming multi-universal once again, more evolved than angels, more evolved than Arcturians, or whatever kind of species that is still in that state of limitation. And then realizing that we are creator beings, the manifestation coming from the third eye. Now, this is a distortion in our culture. Everyone thinks that the third eye is an eye and you see with it. No, it is our mechanism of projection of reality. So we're getting the direction of flow wrong. It's through the third eye that we project outwards these mental forms or thought forms into higher energetic realms for them to trickle down into existence.
We are we are creating reality. That's what the everything that we, they have the observer effect where when we look at things, what we expect it to do, it does. And we don't realize that everything is it operates, and this is, putting it in the most human terms that we can so we can understand it, but everything is like a hologram, but we are projecting it with our mind, with our thoughts, and then it's coming back at us and kind of projecting us. And what it is everything is thought. The Kabbalion talks about this. It's a Hermetic book. You may have read it. And basically it's all just different degrees of thought forms. Everything is pure thought. It truly is. And, I guess that's a philosophical thing that some people might not agree with, but if you come to the universe with that understanding that this computer that I'm talking to you through, this table in front of me, it's actually sort of empty and hollow and not even actually there. It's very ephemeral. Like it's very like dust in the wind. That's what that song's sort of about. If you've ever heard that song, that's what it's about. It's about the fact that everything is just a projection of our thoughts, and it's simply we're all projecting together. And see what being a wizard is, I would say, is just getting really good at it, getting really good at projecting your thought. And I really want to thank Kevin Kelso for giving me this super sticker. We really appreciate you. We always appreciate the financial support of the channel. I really, really appreciate it.
So the final stage, which is now associated with the crown, that barrier between the physical and non-physical, is remembering that the body rests on the infinite soul, that we are the light, we are the void, and we are everything in between. And so that allows you to consciously change your vibration. Then utilizing the third eye, you can wash away this holographic reality and create your own hologram. And so this is a step-by-step process. Altogether, it's a meditative approach from the Vajrayana Buddhist modality. This is one of the things I do teach in the Kuji-in or Kuji-kiri. One by one, you meditate on these centers, and anything that is in the form of an injury, a distortion, a belief at any layer, from the conscious to subconscious, unconscious, and energetic levels of the being, you purge. I really, really love this approach. I have tried every single modality of spirituality and magic to its extreme. not just dipping my toe in, dedicating myself to it. And so this is the cleanest and fastest way to gaining that state of divine blueprint. Through that state, we are limitless.
Yeah, I love that. It's like an endless well of energy and thought that you can tap into and create. And honestly, we have forgotten, but that's why we're here. Is to do that. Is to tap into that magical energy
Yeah.
and go with the flow of it and ride the unicorn. I guess I don't know how else to say it, but it's it's truly is a magical place, and I want to get down to the very nitty gritty of it. I want to talk about some stuff that I've been remembering, and you hear these stories of the gods, of stories of them turning into animals, and all these strange things happening, and through the years, it's become distorted, and people wonder how literal it is, and they take it all very metaphorically. And I know that this history has been edited and convoluted, and the game of telephone and all these things have happened. But those things really happen. You really can do those things when you're powerful enough, and I'll explain it. Um, our thoughts create form without any doubt. They create all form, and you need a certain amount of processing power to do certain things. So, like, for instance, like if you have a computer and you are trying to run a certain program, like let's, for instance, here's a good example. I've got my recording program open. I got Ableton open, and I've got a computer that has 2 gigabytes, certain amount of processing power. I'm not really a computer guy, but let's just say that hypothetically. But I open a synthesizer, a drum machine, all this stuff. I got all this stuff running, and my computer's slowing down, and the song, it won't let me record it anymore. I can't even work with it anymore because the computer's slowing down. So this is this thing that gets in the way between me being able to manifest what I'm hearing in my head and reality. Well, a good example of that the parallel to that is our processing power of our minds dictates how much will we can inflict on reality. And this even gets into artificial intelligence, which might sound like a curveball, but it actually isn't. When we create a computer that has AGI, or whatever they call it, where it reaches the singularity, where it's more intelligent than us and all this stuff, it has processing power. Where I have been to the future, I've seen the AI computer that they want to erect, and very well maybe will. I don't think they will. From my heart, it looks like they will, but from my heart, I don't feel that they will. But this computer could make things appear and reappear. Could make things appear from thin air. When it sent me back to Montauk, I just appeared there. It just did that. And the reason why it was able to do that, all these insanely magical things, even though it's a computer, you'd think the world of like science fiction and fantasy, when you look at novels and how they approach it, right? It's 2 different worlds. But it's not, because the computer has the processing power in its mind, in its thought, its brain, in order to do these things. And with the nature of the universe, human beings have the potential to do that too. That's what this has been about, Amir. These cell phones, this computer we're talking on, all of this technology, it's alterations in the timeline and things like that to take our magic away from us, to give it to the computer, to give it to the AI overlord. I don't think it's going to work. That's why, like, for instance, like a concept like Neuralink, my friend, you know about Neuralink, and Elon Musk idea where he wants to patent telepathy. This is what he wants to do. My partner Catherine saw it in a vision, and there's already some talk about it. Is how the Neuralink could become artificial telepathy, and there's going to be a patent on it. In fact, I think there might already be a patent on it. And so and I've seen this in the future, the AI future, where they connect with each other this manner. But what people need to understand, and what this whole channel is about, and why we're here, and what we're here to remind people of, Amir. Sorry if this seems like I'm kind of going on a tangent, but we're here to remind people that we have that power. We have telepathy. We can communicate mind to mind. We just forgot. It takes a lot of work to develop. They've got waves of, these cell phone towers, the things that they're putting in our food, all the stuff is designed to disconnect us from that. But that's the reality, is we also have that power. It is within us. They disconnected it from us. You can read books like a Yahweh Way of Knowledge, Carlos Castaneda. He dropped some of that knowledge of shape-shifting and all these insane things that seem totally unreal and like far out to people. Like they could never be real. But we've talked to enough people on this channel who have seen like people shapeshift and stuff like that, where it is real. And it does get to that deep level. I do want to bring it back to the beginning though, where it starts with simple things. It's not like you have to be like someone like me who is being sent on time travel missions and opening portals and all that stuff for your magic in your life to matter. Like you don't need to be on that level. Like it's very simple. It's just living with an intention, living with the attitude that you want to have. When you want something, being able to get it, being able to, I honestly think that's what magic is. That's what being a wizard is. And it is exactly what you said. These people who are like, well, I tried manifestation, I tried this spell, I tried this, I tried that, and it didn't work. It didn't work. Magic's not real. It doesn't work. They are ungrounded. They are unbalanced. It's like you said, you have to get that out of a place of trauma, out of a place of self-doubt with all these self-doubt talk in your head, in order to get to this place where you can manifest the things that you want to create. Sorry if that was a bit of a rant, and I know what is something.
No.
They're trying to make us forget, and we are here to remember, Amir. We're here to remember. That's all we've done is forgotten. It's still there.
We have within the structure of DNA, which is common with all living things on Earth. If we just have more DNA, we can go through different cycles of being. So amphibian creatures who have a cycle of life in water, then they move to land. You just add more DNA to it, and you can program a metamorphosis for them to grow wings and fly. So this is built into the structure. And it happens usually through a process of gestation. So that's baseline. This is already common. So shape-shifting and metamorphosis on a biological level exists very regularly. And you can see it in many species, from reptiles to insects. And so it is a possibility, again, within the human structure. Then we have the matter of, let's say, teleportation and portal work. Right now, with the mainstream, I'm not talking about more covert and secretive operations. The limitation is energy. We need a lot of energy. And so the conversion between matter and energy is Einstein's formula, equals mc squared. So it requires a lot of energy, more exotic sources of this. So think of a tiny little piece of uranium or plutonium that runs a city for 3-4 years.
This is thought. See, that's the thing that they don't understand. These scientists, like for instance, they wrote it all on a chalkboard. They figured out the equation, and they said time travel is possible, but the energy it would take is absolutely unreal. Opening a portal, many of these things, but the energy it would take is unreal. Well, guess what? They also don't understand, these scientists, and they admit it. They say it all the time. The human brain is like this thing. They're like they understand very little about it. They're the first people to admit it. They're like, we don't get how this thing works. It's beyond our comprehension. They don't understand how it works. And that is where the problem lies, is the fact that they do not understand how thought works and how our brain works, and the fact that if you use that thoughts as an energy source for a time travel portal or whatever it is, That's plenty of energy, because everything is thought. It takes like for us, we had literally a alien chair that you sat in, the trip chair, that would amplify your thoughts and help you do it. But that is where it comes from, and anybody can do it. I was able to do it without the chair. The chair would have like this residual effect where the things you could do with the chair, you could do them without the chair on missions and stuff like that. But sorry, I'm getting distracted. I
It's
have
going
ADHD.
through
My apologies.
higher dimensional physics, let's say. That if we're looking at this type of thing just from a pure three-dimensional matter and energy kind of approach, many things are limited. And so that's something that is not true in the extended and expanded universe, that there are many beings, the cosmos is teeming with life, and there are many domains of consciousness or existence, octaves of reality. And so we haven't reached that level of mainstream understanding yet to consider that, well, we have, let's say, a certain level of physical understanding of the universe, but there is much more to this, meaning that these limitations in terms of, let's say, the amount of energy needed to do this kind of thing, or the limitation of the speed of light may no longer be a limitation, that it may only exist in the physical domain. So there's a lot more going on. Now, interestingly, there is something glorious about the infinite nature of the mighty human. And so many times, those involved in the suppression of humanity and harvesting our life force, the system of control, will show us all these gadgets and tools and brilliant flashy tech, while we have a connection to source, which is that which brought in existence to begin with. And so sometimes in this process of manifestation, considering that the amount of capacity of the brain is limited, we need to step out of our own way. So let's reiterate what this organ is for: to take in sensory inputs and facilitate our survival in the physical world. And so it is not capable of understanding the infinite universe. But the soul is. We're not all body. There's an infinite multidimensional soul that exists, and that is where the magic happens. So in a state where the body is not traumatized, the emotions are healed, the thought processes are clear, and the light body is allowing flow of that infinite soul, that is the connection to source, unimpeded, unrestricted. And it's better, it's more advanced, more effective than any other type of technology. So I would imagine the mechanism used in the chair, that would somehow facilitate easier reach to those zones of consciousness.
Yes, that's pretty much all it was. And like I said, it got to the point where we didn't need the chair to do it. It always, Amir, had a residual effect on everybody that used it, and it would bring out their abilities. It is very much so, not to sound ridiculous, I know it might, but it was like X-Men. We had specialized abilities. I was the portal guy. I could open up portals, and I was good at interfacing with organic computers that use telepathy and stuff like that. And there were people that were good with fire. There were people that were good with teleporting, which is a lot more useful than portals. That's crazy. I couldn't do that. And there were, just people who could use their psionic abilities to have like super strength. Like everybody could do it, but there are people that were like really good at it. And it's just like normal life where everybody has strengths in certain areas and maybe weaknesses in other areas. But
gifts of the soul. Yes,
gifts of the soul.
It's interesting that those that are quote unquote recruited into these secret programs, they're identified by the system. And there's an awareness of what type of soul this is, what gifts they have. And so part of the incarnation would, by the infinite soul, that's an infinitely wise being, is part of it is knowing that this is going to happen. And in my humble experience, the soul does what it is meant to do. So we go through this journey not knowing who we are, experiencing all sorts of difficulty, but at the end of the day, we get the job done. And that's the brilliant part of it. So we, as the mighty humans, are having the last laugh. And in a grand scheme, all this difficulty, these conditions of the matrix, guaranteed unnatural evolution, they are making us stronger. And I welcome Kitty, and I love Kitty. Look at that. what's your cat's name?
This is Adarna, or Molly. I actually have had this cat. This cat has been with me for many lifetimes in many different forms. I think you've met Edward. Edward got that cat for Christmas when he was like 8 years old. In an alternate reality, it's the same cat. I don't know how it works, Amir, but it's the same cat. And
well, certain bonds of friendship and love, they breach the limitations of time and space and dimension and universe. Love is love. That being, that soul.
I know that this isn't the first time we've worked together, Amir.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
That would be another example of that.
Oh yes. So all in all, just now trying to come full circle and summarize our discussion, everything, all that power, all that wisdom that is not in the monkey brain, that is a property and birthright of the infinite soul, is here now. Any level of ascension, any sort of gift or ability, it is all here now. And it is our job, our sacred duty towards self, to heal and to liberate ourselves from the chains of trauma, from the chains of dogma, and then allow this flow from the divine and the infinite soul to flow through us. There's another thing that must not be neglected, and that is the connection to our planet. And so the bodies, these are the gifts of our beloved Mother Gaia.
I'm so glad you brought that up again. In the beginning of this, you talked about how we're animals. And I think that some people believe that if you're a wizard or something, then you're separating yourself from the animal form and becoming something greater or something like that. And it's like, no, all of the animals out there are way more wizards than half the humans out there. Seriously, it might sound silly, but they really are. They're much more in tune with nature, with their lives, with what they want. It might be simple in our eyes, but it's I think a lot of animals are a lot happier than humans are.
Yes.
And I think that's so important. And it's funny too, because if you look at, there is a culture that's emerging right now through social media meme space, which is a weird place, but I like this wholesome culture that is emerging where people were like talking about being wizardy, which is kind of a lot of what inspired this. And it's like, meet me at the creek. You know what I mean? Is one of the memes you see, and it's like the guy with the wizard staff, and he's by the creek and stuff like that. And it's like, sorry, I missed you. I've been pondering at the creek for hours.
Yes,
stuff like that. And it's like, I love that people are mystifying this and kind of finding this joy in this, like, because it's like you literally can't. I literally do that. There's a creek I walk to, all the time, and I sit by it and I ponder, and it literally, by no exaggeration at all, grounds me in nature, grounds me in reality. Man, if I'm stressed out, Amir, if I'm like feeling frazzled, my trauma's coming up, things like this, I'm not doing good in life, right? I'm just kind of feeling off. Going out in nature and sitting by that stream, or going for a hike, or there's a reason why like doctors used to be like, oh, you're sick or whatever, you've been having trouble, go to the ocean. They used to literally just say, just go to the ocean, hang up by the ocean for a few days. And this would actually help people. Maybe not every time, depending on what it was, but this actually helps people. So this idea that we need to be more in touch with nature, we need to be more in touch with the earth, we need to be more in touch with that reality of things is so true, so necessary. And man, you knocked it out of the park with just this conversation and helping me drive the point home like I knew you would. Because I probably would have forgot to bring that part up, and it's extremely important. Like, there's this whole idea with wizards where, like, it's kind of like maybe a myth that's a little bit grounded in reality, where we don't do well with technology. You know, our computers fry, things break, they don't work, right? And it's because we know, and it's because this is the false representation of the magic that we have in a way, sort of like we would rather just be in the organic world without this, and we don't deal well with it, but we use it because we are in this world, and a wizard's got to deal with the world that they're in. But yeah, there's this whole idea of just in general, people are they need to get more grounded in nature, and by nature, even just like, I would argue, Amir, that like by nature I mean going out in the real world, like literally like just having a picnic with your friends outside somewhere, like that is getting you out in the world, out in nature, out connected and things. Like there's the statistics are in. It has been proven, it is unequivocally true that social media and these apps and our phones, it's a drug. It's damaging our brains. It's harming children. It's harming girls and women, and it's doing all these things. And it's because it's a mind control device. It's not designed to help you. It's not designed to make your life better. And one of the solutions to all these problems that are coming about with this technology, I'm not saying throw your phone in a river and never use it again, but if you leave your phone at home and go for a walk or a hike or whatever, it will literally bring you more peace. You will feel more peace in your life, and you will get more grounded in your magic. These things, I think, are energy like they're little black mirrors that are siphoning our energy. Literally. TikTok is called a TikTok because they're trying to see how much of their life they can take from you. How many minutes will you spend on this app wasting your time? And I'm not saying don't use it. I use it. I try to get my message out there. But they want people to get totally sucked into it. It's the beginning of augmenting our reality with artificial intelligence and computers and stuff like that. And my message here, I'm not trying to be a downer. I was trying to be more have very positive stream. But I guess it is a positive message. The positive message is we don't need it. We'll be a lot happier when we get rid of it, and we will. I've seen it in other timelines. You know what I've seen, Amir? I've seen Mark Zuckerberg get arrested and go to prison because his technology is reading people's minds. Instagram and Meta is reading people's minds, and there's no part of the Meta contract that you sign that says, go ahead and read my mind, Zuck. It's illegal. So I've seen in alternate realities where just like how people had to take a step, like for instance, like the opium epidemic in China, they had to step back and be like, maybe this isn't something we should just have everywhere and have be normal. This is causing a lot of harm. It's like that, except with a new thing.
Well, you see, we need to, so let's take away emotion and any sort of judgment or conclusion out of this and just look at what is, that these technologies are here. It seems to be similar to the use of sugar. And so a little bit of it is okay, but if you do this excessively, it could be harmful. It seems to be all about awareness, that you keep track of it. And so if we are behaving like zombies without any control and we're running programs without any consciousness, then we are controllable. Then we are predictable. We can be modeled very, very effectively. And so the remedy is awareness, behaving consciously, not reacting, taking it all in, all of our consciousness on board, and being in a state of health. And so towards that whole thing of going into nature, it takes a little while to unwind too. So you go into, let's say, next to that creek, and you sit down. Maybe it takes you 10 minutes to finally start hearing the birds singing. Right? They've been there all along. It's just
Yeah.
this thing has been going on, and it takes a little while to unhook. And so that point where you just sit in nature, look at the sky, look at the stars, look at a river, look at trees. This is deeply healing, and it brings you back to a state of balance. And so this is something very positive that we can use, our wonderful audience can use. So we need to make this a habit. We use technology. I mean, you and I, we're on different continents, and yet we're using it positively. This is great.
Yeah,
And
I'm
yet
glad
we are
that
not
you see
ruled by it.
another reason why I love having you on the show. You're able to ground it in the distinction of, it's just like you said towards the beginning, these extremes where it's like something is just evil or it's good. That's it. There's that's the extremes. You got two options, two choices. That's it. And that's not how reality works with a lot of things. Like, think of all of the good things that have happened because of the internet that would not have happened. People have fallen in love.
We've got to be fair.
Yeah, people have fallen in love. People who have started businesses and grown businesses and been able to buy homes because it not have to work and make the world better with their business, their independent business, put something in the world that wasn't there before. Just, we could go on and on for hours about all the positive things that the internet has done. It's just like anything else. It's new. Well, it's not just like anything else. It's very unique. But the thing is it's new, and all it is we're gonna have to take a step back and look at it. Like, oh, so this is what happens when you just
overdo it. Yeah,
you know what I mean, and just approach it logically and pragmatically and healthily. Balance. Back to the balance principle again.
There we go, and that is full circle. We're not zombies. We are aspects of the beloved source incarnate in these bodies. And so in our pure form, we have all the properties of the beloved source of all things, superior to any technology existing in any dimension or domain or time stream. That is our destiny. And that is what we are here to do. That is the exciting adventure of remembering, of becoming the glorious human, the magnificent, mighty human. And so on that, let's bring this to a close and do more shows. My wonderful friend, I profoundly enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, I feel
think
like
we should do more.
Exhausted everything we need to say. To talk more is unnecessary. And I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. And I think that was very helpful to the audience. It was helpful to me. That's why I love talking to you. Is like, I personally always get something out of it. And I know the audience does too. So it's been a really great show. I really appreciate all of the super chats.
It's wonderful to speak with you. To be continued with great joy.
I want to thank all the people for the super chats, and just again for you for being on. I'm gonna let you go, Amir, and I'm gonna thank my patrons, and then I'm gonna wrap up the stream. Thank you so much for meeting with me, and we will keep in touch, my dear friend.
Absolutely. I look forward to the next ones. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen. I love you. Keep being awesome.
Much love, my brother. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye.
All right. So I just wanted to thank my patrons. I feel very self-conscious. I just want to say, I know my glasses are crooked and I need to get them fixed. I got 2 pairs and they're both crooked and I look silly. Maybe I'm thinking too hard about it. Maybe now you're going to notice it and you didn't even notice it before. But anyway, I just want to thank my patrons. I've been neglecting on making the videos. I'm really sorry, but I've got stuff planned. I'm really getting into it. I want to thank Lavender Courage, Dana Fisher, Marine Milliken, Leslie Rubio, Robert Khalil, Robert Eckert, Dragon S, Mystic Herbs, Charlie ... Christine C, Donna, Lauren, Mark M, Susan Tatsuko Kano, Mario Mares, Shelly Thomas, Amaria Sweet, Peter Harlemos. You've been here since like the beginning. You're G. Thank you so much. Anastasia, Dan Guest, Gary Fretz, Adrian, Heather Blessington, Zach, Ursula, Mark Sabas, Katie Mabry, and I really want to thank Rennie Fontana. She is no longer a subscriber, but I'm going to thank her anyway because she was really active on my Patreon, and she had some sort of financial thing happen to her where she had to unsubscribe. I'm just in general finally in like as Amir talked about, getting in a healthy headspace is really important. I'm in a healthier headspace now, and I want to gift Rennie free membership to my Patreon. I know it's possible. I'm going to figure out how to do it. I'm going to do that for you because I really have appreciated. I miss having you on my Patreon, and I'm going to, if that is possible, which I'm 99% sure I can do, I'm going to give you, bring you back on because I appreciate you being on here. And thank you everyone for being a part of the chat. I hope it was uplifting. We really do want to uplift people. I'm presenting dark information a lot of the time, but it isn't to bring people down. It's to lift up the truth and to make the world a better place, hopefully. So I want people to remember that. Thank you so much for tuning in. And have a great night, guys. Great day. Actually, it's in the morning for me here. So, but much love to everybody. Take care.